All right, guys. So today you're going to be completing this assignment, the cost of commuting. And I figured I would give you this little guided video here to take you through it because it does involve a little bit of math, nothing too complicated, just some multiplication and division. But just being able to decipher these word problems could be a little bit tricky. So I figured I would help you along there. So we've been talking about urbanization, people moving into cities, and we starting to understand that as people move into cities, well, there's only so much space, so they start to get crowded. And when it is crowded, people then tend to spread out, and that's what is called urban sprawl or suburban sprawl, or sometimes just sprawl. But the idea is that people are spreading out from the inside of a city to then taking up the open land around it, much like Audubon is a suburb of Philadelphia. People that work in Philadelphia, some of which you might even know, live in Audubon and these surrounding towns that are not too far outside of the city. Um, Problem is, to get into the city for work, you have to commute. So if you're not using public transportation, odds are you're using your own vehicle. And that's what this worksheet focuses on. So I'm just going to take you through just about every single one here. So pay close attention, and hopefully this helps you out. So in this little intro, it says that imagine that you are one of 1,000 people who used to live in Center City, Philadelphia, and walked or took public transportation to work. But now you and others have moved to the suburbs near Audubon and drive 10 miles per day each way to work in Philadelphia. So that last little bit there, you drive 10 miles per day each way, so up and back to work in Philadelphia. So 10 miles to get in, but then you got to get home, right? So 10 miles back. So the first question here, it asks us, well, how many additional miles are being driven each day by these 1,000 people? So if you're one of these people, right, as we just said, you're driving 10 miles into Philly and then 10 miles back. So that's just 20 miles. But for the sake of everything here, cut off my head a little bit. But I'll just show you real quick that you have, right, 10 miles up and 10 miles back. 10 times 2 is 20. So just right in here, bada boop, bada beep, 20 miles extra, right, just from living outside of the city, which doesn't seem like much, but you'll see that it adds up quickly over time. B says, how many additional miles are being driven each week by these 1,000 people? And it tells you to assume that each person drives 5 days in a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going back and forth into Philly and then back home. So it's 20 miles each day. So we will do 20 miles. I'm just going to move this over here for now. 20 miles times those 5 days per week. That's going to tell us that on average per week, these people are driving an extra 100 miles. So 100. There you go. Moving right along here to C, it says how many additional miles are being driven each year by those 1,000 people. So it tells you that there are 52 weeks in the year, and we know that they are driving that extra 100 miles per week. So now a little bit more multiplication here. Okay, you take that 100 miles that we already have loaded up here in our calculator, and we are going to multiply it by these 52 weeks in a year. And that tells us that in a year, we are getting up to 5,200 or 5,200 extra miles. Okay, a lot of miles there. And now we're going to start looking at it in terms of how much gas does that take, right? Because a car doesn't just run on dreams and happiness, right? You need to put some fuel in this vehicle. So If the average car gets 20 miles per gallon of gas, how many gallons of gasoline will be used by those 1,000 people? Again, we're just looking at it in terms of one of these 1,000 people. So if we are driving those extra 5,200 miles per year, and we know that it is 20 miles per gallon, well, how much gasoline? How many gallons of gasoline are we using? Got to do a little bit more math here, except this time we're looking at some division. So we're dividing that 5,200 extra miles by 20, right? Because we're getting 20 miles to the gallon. And that tells you that that's approximately 260 gallons of gas per year that is being used. Okay, and now we're going to look at the money aspect. How much do these extra gallons of gasoline actually cost? And I got to tell you, um, this is telling us that assume the average gallon of gas is $3. It's more than that now. So those of you that are getting excited to drive in the next year or two, better start saving up. If you want to be able to make that car go more than 2 feet, you got to put some gas in the tank. But anyway, so we're assuming that each gallon of gas costs $3. So how much are we paying per year to drive to work? So we're paying for an additional 260 gallons. So we're just going to we're going to multiply those 260 gallons by the $3 each of those gallons costs. And that's going to tell us that you're spending on average, and again, right now, probably more than that, $780, so like $800 in gas. That's a lot of money just to go to work. And then the last part here, and I'm going to leave this to you to answer on your own. It says, assuming that you are not going to move back to Philly or change your job, what measures could you take to lessen your impact on the environment? So, what could you do to eliminate putting so much emissions into our atmosphere, using up as much gasoline as you do to get just from your house to your work and back? So, I mean, be creative, right? What could we do to reduce that? Um, could you potentially ride your bike to work? I guess if you weren't afraid of heights like me and you'd be brave enough to go over the bridge and you weren't that far into Philly, I guess you could. Maybe you could carpool or try to take the train in, right? There's multiple options on what you could do to somehow lessen that impact that you're having on the environment. So just trying to not drive as much would even be a start. So hope this video helped. If you do have any other questions, please let me know. But good luck and looking forward to seeing you guys soon.